You're watching YCN, your local view. Program airtime is underwritten in part by Bar Harbor Bank and Trust. Looking to purchase your dream home, finance your business, or just find a better checking relationship? Our New Hampshire team is here to help you. We make award-winning banking happen every day. Contact us to see how we can help you. Member FDIC.
Welcome to this special edition of Yankee Chronicle. I'm your host, John O'Connor. We're coming to you from the Susan Colgate Cleveland Library on the campus of Colby-Sawyer College in New London. Today, we'll meet with the new president of the college, Dean McCurdy. He joins Colby-Sawyer as the school's 10th president. Throughout his career, he has been an effective and innovative leader at both small private liberal arts colleges and comprehensive community colleges. We'll hear about him personally and professionally and learn about his vision for the school and its future. Stay with us on YCN, your local view, and your Yankee Chronicle.
This program is supported by H.R. Clough and Kearsarge Heating. Their full-service model offers oil delivery, propane, motor fuels with design, installation, service, and maintenance of all types of oil, gas, and alternative energy systems, as well as air conditioning, water conditioning systems, and backup generators. Their highly trained and friendly staff will assist you throughout the process of buying, installing, and servicing a full line of energy products. H.R. Clough and Kearsarge Heating. Echo Communications, a digitally integrated commercial printer and mailer located in New London, New Hampshire since 1997, with roots going back much further as the Country Press, AccuMail, and the home of the Kearsarge shopper. Echo Communications. Main Street Bookends of Warner, for books, toys, games, cards, gifts, and a gallery of local art. Main Street Bookends of Warner. The Innertown Record, your weekly hometown community newspaper covering the Kearsarge Sunapee Sunshine region of New Hampshire. The Innertown Record.
Welcome back to this Yankee Chronicle special. I'm John O'Connor. And today, President Dean McCurdy, it's great to meet you and great to be here on the campus of Colby-Sawyer College.
Well, thank you for coming. Great to be here, John, and excited to talk about Colby-Sawyer in the future.
Well, and you know, before we get to that, I'd love to just understand how you got here. I mean, you went from a school that I think the system was 190,000 students to a really pretty small liberal arts college in a wonderful part of New Hampshire. How did you decide to make that transition?
So, you know, my roots in higher education go back over 30 years and started a long time ago in New England as an immigrant to the United States, came from Canada where I did my education there. And my first two stops in my journey were actually at small private liberal arts colleges, Bowdoin College and then Albion College in Michigan, where I was for a long time as faculty. From there, I transitioned into the two-year college space. I followed a lot of my students after the Great Recession, looking to make a connection into the workforce, and did workforce development and education for many years, which led me to larger and larger institutions and public institutions, of course, including one, as you mentioned, with over 200,000 students. But for me, my roots have always been at the small private college world. and always wanted to come back and bring the lessons I'd learned from both public and private, small and large institutions, traditional education and workforce training, to refocus on that liberal arts mission. So for me, it's really coming full circle in my career.
So the liberal arts mission, how much of that was in your previous life at community colleges, and how much of that vocational job preparation is in your new life at Colby-Sawyer?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I'm really bringing the fusion of those two things together. I think my contribution when I went to the two-year college world was bringing the lessons learned from a solid liberal arts education. You know, the critical thinking skills, problem solving, communication, teamwork skills that we teach our students so effectively in the liberal arts model. So I brought that to the two-year college world, but what I gained from that experience was a very deep understanding of the needs of our workforce and how colleges can be not just an educational institution, but an engine for workforce development. And so that experience from those, or two-year rather, community college environments really helped me get focused on my why and a why for education beyond education for education's sake. So, so what I really am excited about doing here is bringing those two things together in a college that really has a hybrid model already, you know, with our focus on healthcare, but also our roots in liberal arts. So I think that's the best experience for students and really helps provide not just for a job, but an entire career.
And I understand at Colby-Sawyer, almost all the students, maybe all the students have a required internship?
Yes.
Was that something that attracted you to this? Or?
Absolutely it was. That was a major attraction for me. And, you know, as I was thinking about my next steps in my career, thinking about, you know, where are the forward institutions that are really leaning into the world as it's changing, institutions that are resilient and dynamic and innovative. And Colby-Sawyer has a long tradition in its 188-year history of innovation, of changing when needed, but yet remaining true to the values at the core of the institution. So for me, that was very attractive. It signaled to me, and I think it signals to the world, that it's a college that wants to combine that traditional foundational education with those relevant career experiences that we know our students need.
And I mean, that's really, I mean, people talk about experiential learning, and that's really at the core of this style of education.
Yes, as you said, every student does an internship, but our students are also out in the community. We're going to be continuing to do more and more of that, combining that experience that you would get through an apprenticeship type of model, again, much beyond the traditional classroom environment, right? We know that's not only important for the development of our students, it's also what attracts students today. You know, higher ed has struggled in the last couple of decades with public perception, right, and relevancy. And yet we know there's never been a more valuable time for the type of education that a Colby-Sawyer provides. So we need to meet our market where it is and continue to help our students develop in a way that will allow them to be productive citizens.
Well, that's great. So thank you for that. And when we return, we're going to continue our conversation about the strategies helping Colby-Sawyer and its students become productive members of society.
This program is supported by the Innertown Record, your weekly hometown community newspaper covering the Kearsarge-Sunapee-Sunshine region of New Hampshire. The Innertown Record.
Welcome back to this Yankee Chronicle special. I'm John O'Connor. Dean, I want to continue our conversation and really talk about sort of the strategic issues that you sort of see facing Colby-Sawyer. You know, I know your strategic plan has like 9 major points, and I don't want to get into each one of those. That's going to take too much time. But of those, right, what most excites you coming to the campus?
Yeah, so I think, so John, we're actually in the process right now of developing our next strategic plan for the college. Something, we're engaging our students, our alumni, our board members, and our community partners in. So getting lots of information to put into that. So while I don't have anything to talk about with that today, there are a number of key elements that are already emerging. One of those would be certainly our partnership opportunities with our employer and our community partners. Several years ago, Colby-Sawyer made the strategic decision to increase its focus, for example, on healthcare and on graduate and professional programs, in addition to the outstanding undergraduate programs that we've always offered. That move was really important. It provides an upskilling not only for traditional students but adults that might need to come back to college and take that next step in their careers. So that was a really bold and innovative and new step for the college. That certainly is one that we're continuing to develop. It's important in diversifying our model as a college to be successful in the future. It also is really where the direction that education is going, right? So we're facing an enrollment decline of traditional high school students, and yet there are all kinds of students out there in the millions that would benefit from the type of education that we provide. And so for us, a real key component of that strategy is taking a growth mindset on that, rather than looking at a declining traditional population, looking at what the market truly represents, which again is traditional high school graduates, students that are already in high school as another example that would benefit from college or an introduction to college, and then of course the working adults. And so while that looks a little different than what we've traditionally done, it's been enormously successful. We've seen tremendous growth already from that strategy. So that will certainly be part of what we continue.
Will health, your excellence in health and health related, be the tip of that strategy? Or will it be in the business social sciences? How will it sort of, and maybe this is ahead of the curve.
No. Great, I'm laughing because it's a great question.
I mean,
it's all of the above, John.
Okay.
It really is. We have certainly made an intentional pivot to healthcare in the last few years. Of course, we have a very deep partnership with Dartmouth Health, including with our local New London Hospital. That's been an outstanding opportunity for students, for the college, for the community. It's been a win all the way around. We're currently working with Dartmouth Health on the next iteration of that agreement. Thinking big and planning big, that's all I can say right now about that. But,
so that's a teaser for something we can come back.
There is much to come with that. So that's certainly a key element. But also looking, for example, we've seen a lot of growth in our business program. That's a much needed skill set in the community, both in online and we have a 4+1 program where our graduates and undergraduates can continue and do an accelerated MBA. That's been very successful. And then as you mentioned, the social sciences, humanities and arts, there are key opportunities in each of those areas. The type of training and education needed may look different in each area. We're even looking at the role of the college as a continuing education provider. We provide a lot of ongoing lifelong learning education for citizens in the community, but we can also work with our employers to use the skills and experiences of our faculty to help develop their employees as well. So thinking very broadly as well as deeply about the role we might play in the future.
But at the core, Colby-Sawyer will still be a residential, small liberal arts, and it's sort of, at the core, is that correct?
That is absolutely correct. So you're right, and I think it's important to emphasize that. We tend to talk about the things that are new or different. The core is very much a residential, world-class education. We've got fantastic facilities to do that. We have, I think, a real geographical advantage in our location. We're located in a place where people often choose to retire or take a vacation. It's a beautiful part of the world to live in. It's a very close-knit community, both on campus and in the region. It's just a great place to raise a family after you graduate. I've run into alumni that have graduated over the last few years and have traveled the world, and they may not be from this area, but they've chosen to settle here as well, which is also an exciting part of how we can be part of the community.
Well, that's great, and that sets me up for the next segment. When we return, we actually are going to talk about Colby-Sawyer and the community. So please stay with us.
This program is supported by H.R. Clough and Kearsarge Heating. Their full-service model offers oil delivery, propane, motor fuels with design, installation, service, and maintenance of all types of oil, gas, and alternative energy systems, as well as air conditioning, water conditioning systems, and their highly trained and friendly staff will assist you throughout the process of buying, installing, and servicing a full line of energy products. H.R. Clough and Kearsarge Heating.
The Lake Sunapee region is one of the few communities in the country where you can ski year-round. During the summer season, the lake provides water skiing, fishing, swimming, and boating. During the winter, Mount Sunapee Resort, located at the south end of the lake, is one of the most popular ski and snowboard destinations in New Hampshire. The views of Lake Sunapee from the trails in Sun Bowl are spectacular. For more information about visiting our beautiful area, contact the Lake Sunapee Region Chamber of Commerce.
Welcome back to this Yankee Chronicle special. I'm John O'Connor. So, Dean McCurdy, president, I should say. As an academic, I want to say dean. How confusing is that?
Yes.
I want to talk a little bit, as we left off, about Colby-Sawyer and the community. And, town-gown relations are kind of interesting, but I think what I heard is you want to look for opportunities where Colby-Sawyer can really add value to the community. And I'd like to know a little bit more about that and how you see that might evolve over time.
Yeah, so that's a great question, John, and it's a real reason that I chose to come here, and I'm excited to be here. Of course, I spent more than a decade at the community college world, and in that movement. I mean, community is in the name, and I think one of the things I really learned is about how you can support and grow a higher education institution most effectively with those community partnerships and support. So I think it can be a win for the community. And of course, my previous institutions existed to specifically serve the communities where they were located, saw incredible enrollment growth and completions, and you could see the revitalization of communities through education. So I can't unknow the things that I've learned from that. And so I'm very excited about what role Colby-Sawyer can play in both our immediate community in New London, but also in the Valley and in the region beyond. So really excited to talk about this topic.
Is it a business? Is it social? How is it come to campus? Is it take the campus to outside?
Great. So it's all of the above. It's the business relationships are really key because every one of our students, as you mentioned, does an internship, and so we need to make sure we have those partnerships, that there's a common understanding that our business partners and our employer and community partners that also do this, that they understand the needs of our students and what we're trying to do within our programs. And we also need to understand what their needs are so we can create and prepare students for those experiences and then create the opportunities and support them in a way that's meaningful. So I think that's the best experience for a student, but if we can get a win for the community in doing that and helping make sure that we're preparing students for what's relevant for the workforce, that's great. When you consider the community partnerships, first thing I want to say is, I've lived in many different states and countries and towns and so on. This community in this region has been incredibly welcoming to me and my family, which I really have appreciated. I've spent a lot of time in community forums, hosting events in the community. One of the biggest things that we'll be doing this fall is finding new ways to invite the community to connect in with the campus. We have a lot of community members that regularly will use the facilities, the swimming pool or the gym. They'll come to productions and shows on campus. We really want to be the living room for our greater community. I think it models the types of interactions and opportunities that we want for our students. We're really fortunate to have a community that really represents the kinds of environments and workforce opportunities that our students are looking to get into. So the more we can blend that in together for our students, the more prepared they'll be to be productive citizens. So I think that's a huge element of what we're working on coming in the fall. We'll be having lighting up the field for the first time. We have lighting for our athletic field So we have a big game coming up. We'll be inviting the whole community to come out to that. But many events like that as we go through the fall semester and beyond, looking for opportunities to engage those community partners.
What are you hearing from, and when you talk to people out in the community, that they're most interested, or the top couple of things that excite people?
Yeah. I think the number one thing I hear about the most is the students. Our community partners are really excited about knowing, what are our students majoring in, what are they excited about, what kind of activities are they participating in, and how can I get involved? I have a lot of conversations, whether it's church leaders or other civic leaders or business owners, about how can they get involved, how can they engage with the college, how can they be part of what we're doing. I usually will, as I introduce the college within the community, been having conversations around what the opportunities for students internships, but also opportunities to come and speak to students, to be part of our college community, to teach in some cases. We're always looking for highly qualified adjunct faculty to help support our students in various ways, and just be part of that experience for our students that we're seeking to have. That's the biggest ask that I have in the community is continue to engage with us, ask questions, and let us know what it is you need. I think that is we exist to respond to, the types of needs that our society has. And so for me, it's incredibly important to know, where are the gaps, what's going well, and also what's not going well that we can improve on. And maybe we have the answer, or maybe we are the convener. We can bring others to the table and help determine what those needs are and meet them together.
Well, thank you. When we return, we're going to continue our conversation, and we'll focus a little bit more about general needs in higher education. So stay with us.
This program is supported by Main Street Bookends of Warner for books, toys, games, cards, gifts, and a gallery of local art. Main Street Bookends of Warner.
Welcome back to this special edition of Yankee Chronicle. I'm John O'Connor, your host. President McCurdy, let me sort of take us away from Colby-Sawyer campus, right? We talked a lot about the campus and the students and the community, but I want to get United States, right, and higher ed in general. What do you see as the biggest challenges right now and for the next 5-10 years that higher ed faces?
Yeah. Great question. So that is the big question and conversation that's happening across higher education.
And we know higher ed has the number of schools that have gone out of business. It's a challenging environment out there.
Yeah, I think what's affecting higher education, and I say this as somebody that's been in higher education for decades, but also worked with other sectors in the economy. Higher education is really facing some of the challenges. They're not unique to higher ed. They're the kind of challenges that our healthcare partners have seen, that our finance sectors have seen. You think about the number of times the name of your bank has changed over the decades. It's pressures from enrollment. It's pressures in competition, not so much with higher ed and other colleges. It's really the competition is with not going to college. We see a lot of students today not seeing the relevance, struggling to find a way to pay. So, we really need to respond to that, those challenges.
Nationally, and I don't know what the numbers are for Colby-Sawyer, but I bet they reflect nationally, men aren't going to school.
That is a major, major factor. And like most small colleges, we are majority women and always have been. Of course, we used to be a women's college. But that change is a great example of the kind of disruptive and innovative change that we need today, right? Colby-Sawyer going from being, a women's institution to co-ed, we need another version of that ourselves, but also higher ed in general needs that kind of innovation. I've had a lot of success in recent years attracting young men to college, and that was my fastest growing area at my last college. And it's again, understanding both the perceptions and the realities that our students are facing, high school students as well as working adults, and then adapting the programs to meet the market, not expecting, and higher ed has done this and is guilty of this, I think, pretty heavily, of traditionally not really meeting the market where it is, trying to get the market to conform. The reality is there's the quality of what we offer is outstanding. Colleges and universities, those outcomes, whether it's you're measuring it by income or people's quality of life or healthcare indicators, you name it, higher ed is a profound way to improve our society. The reality, though, is higher education has been way too slow to adapt to the needs of our students and our prospective students. And so that really is our hyper-focus here, is on, how do we meet the needs of our students? And then when they're here, make that commitment to doing whatever it takes for them to be successful, both in college and beyond. And I think, if higher education takes lessons learned from other sectors of the economy, I think we'll be just fine. If higher ed ignores that, it's at their own peril. So I think that's really key.
So one of the challenges that I've sort of noticed with higher ed is higher ed inflation has been greater than CPI.
Yes.
How do you bend the curve?
Yeah, so I think there's many ways to do it. In my most recent experience, we took a long look at what are the most inflationary items in higher ed, and a good example is textbooks. The price of textbooks has grown faster than tuition, faster than housing, faster than healthcare in the last 30, 40 years. And so, again, this was a solution. My previous college, what we did there was, we really looked at the college textbooks the way you would look at your insurance. We bought in bulk, we negotiated on behalf of our students, we used open resources, we worked with our faculty and our staff to drive the cost of those books down every year rather than up every year. So I think we have to look at, individually, line by line, what is the cost that our students are paying? How can we leverage technology? How can we be more efficient in our operations and more effective at the same time? So I do think, for Colby-Sawyer, we did a tuition reset a few years ago. That was a really important way for us to get into the price range that parents and families could afford, and also to be more transparent about pricing. What is the true cost of college? What is the return going to be on your investment? And if we're asking a student to pay more in tuition or in fees, that we can show that there's that beneficial return that's commensurate with that investment we're asking them to make.
Well, thank you. And unfortunately, we're out of time. I'd like to continue the conversation, but alas, the show's got to end. So thanks so much.
Thank you, John. Appreciate the opportunity.
I'd like to thank Colby-Sawyer College for hosting this Yankee Chronicle special. We wish Dean McCurdy good luck at the start of this new school year. Next week, we'll be coming to you from Main Street Bookends as they wrap themselves in the season and prepare for the Warner Fall Foliage Festival. Tune in to YCN's live game coverage Friday night at 6:23. We'll have the Kearsarge Cougars hosting the Fall Mountain Wildcats and football action. All of our games are replayed on Sunday and Monday at noon and 7 p.m. Check out the new fall schedule on our website for the most up-to-date live game information for TDS TV and Comcast Cable, and also seen on Roku, Apple TV, and our YCNNow.com website. Join us again next week for an all-new edition of Yankee Chronicle. I'm John O'Connor. Enjoy the beautiful fall, everybody.
This program is supported by Echo Communications, a digitally integrated commercial printer and mailer located in New London, New Hampshire since 1997, with roots going back much further as the country press, AccuMail, and the home of the Kearsarge shopper. Echo Communications.